YouTuber, and it's time for another video game review. Okay, so I reviewed the original Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic CD. Now it's time to review the game that came in between them. I'll pretend that didn't sound gross. So, Sonic 2 is the game most people played. Why do I say this? It has the most sold copy out of any Sonic game ever. This is most people's first Sonic game. Fun fact, this game was designed and developed in America, but still by the Japanese team led by Yuji Naka, so I guess the developers wanted a change of scenery, or get more in touch with their American crowd that the Hedgehog seemed to have generated. But enough backlog, this game doesn't really need much of that. Sonic 2 introduced a lot of new things. Longer levels, Tails, the fox that can fly, but not when you play as him. The first introduction of the spin dash, and no speed cap on Sonic's feet. That's right, now you can beat the screen. There are only 2 acts per stage this time around, but it's alright because the stages are twice as long, and the boss battles are harder. In fact, this game is a lot harder. It's most likely the hardest out of the classic series. It's a good and bad thing, and what makes this game special, but a bit cheap at the same time. Now, if you've seen my Sonic 1 review, and if you haven't, you should, Sonic 1 is a bit platform heavy. A bit too much waiting jumps where you should be moving fast. Sonic 2 fixes that by streamlining your gameplay. It will give you a different path that you want to follow, a top, middle, and bottom. Top being challenging to get to and stay on, but generally the fastest. Middle being moderately difficult and a bit slower, and bottom gets slower from there. The difficulty found in this game is getting through the zone as fast as you can. Even though I did say top is generally the fastest, it's not always the case, and the difficulty on staying on the route that you want is where the main game focuses in. You can easily be on the top route and get sent down all the way to the bottom. I find this really fun and challenging, and was the next step for Sonic to take as a speed platformer. If you're good enough, the stages will be done in seconds, and the non-broken spin dash helps with speeding things up a bit if you ever slow down. All of this is good and fine. The game can be difficult in another way. Item placement. What other game did I hate on this about? I honestly can't remember. Anyway, it's not really things like spikes, you know, other than the pit, but things like enemies. This only becomes apparent later in the game because of how frustrating it can be sometimes. Seahorses that can attack you off screen, enemies that can just pop out of nowhere and shoot you in the face, enemies that come out of walls, shellcrackers with their absurd hitbox, slicers. Just slicers. And Astrons aren't that bad. You know what, if it's just the enemies, I can't complain too much, but it's still a hindrance at times. The bosses in this game are a bit more challenging, but that's not saying too much. Other than the last 2 and the final boss, they're nothing that you can't handle. Even the final boss is only difficult because of lack of rings, really. One of the biggest things that changes with Sonic 2 are the special stages. That's right, forget about the acid trip and we go to half pipe with bombs. Get all the set amount of rings and you get the Chaos Emerald. But don't let Tails fuck you up. But if you're playing right, you shouldn't do that in the first place. Get all 7 and you get the good ending. And Super Sonic. He's Sonic, but super. You can break the game even more than ever, but you have to work your ass off to get him. These stages focus more on memory than skill, and while it's my favorite type of special stage, it isn't my favorite and it will kick your ass. Sonic 2 did a lot of things right. Even if those people aren't Sonic fans today, people have found fond memories of this game. The speed, the platforming, dicking over your sibling or friend who was playing Tails. It's just kinda sad to know that lots of people don't get the Chaos Emeralds, but I don't blame them. While I like the game, I just can't get into it. Personally, I think it's the level themes. I mean, Hilltop, A ruin, a mine, an oil ocean, and Metropolis Zone can fuck itself. While it's just personal gripe and they are fun, I will give this game a 4.5 out of 5 because it does everything better, but it's not quite perfect yet. Sit tight until my Sonic 3 and K review comes out, cause that's the only real video game review I do anyway, right? I only do Sonic games. Forget other games. What other game exists? Who's this Mario character you're talking about? But until then, mata!